Interesting fight coming up this weekend at light heavyweight. We have the Ultimate Fighter finale runner-up, we could call him that, in Khalil Rountree Jr., the Warhorse, taking on Baby K, Karl Roberson, in a very interesting fight, and I have a hard time kind of coming up with this one. It's a weird fight. For Karl Roberson, you look at it, he's been a middleweight traditionally, he's had some fights at light heavyweight, he's bounced around, he's had a myriad of fights booked, and that have fallen out. He's had weight cuts that have gone bad. It's been a weird mixed bag for Robertson. So let's go through his UFC career really quickly. Beats Ryan Spann with the old Hellbows over on Dana White's Contender Series. Beats Darren Stewart by rear naked choke, which is a bit of a surprise to some people because for Karl Roberson, he is a kickboxer. But when he fights in MMA, he tends to grapple.
We've been talking about this for 4 years.
It's the strangest thing. It's like that main law thing that they used to do on Saturday Night Live all the time. But I look at it, lose to Cesar Ferreira by submission. Mutante beats Jack Marshman, lose to Glover Teixeira, beats Wellington Turman, beats Roman Kopylov. 3 fights booked and that fell out until he gets Marvin Vettori, the bad blood, the jawing in the hotel lobbies. He ends up losing that one. And then he loses to Brendan Allen his last time out. He's booked against Nick Maximov back in, the fall, late summer, early fall. Robertson withdraws. Now he gets Khalil Rountree. And for Khalil Rountree, it's the same way with his career. Not necessarily fights booked that have fallen out, though there have been some of those, but it's just been wins and losses peppered all the way through. He ends up at the end of the season 23 of The Ultimate Fighter, lose to Andrew Sanchez in the finale, lose to Tyson Pedro. Some wins, some losses peppered in through. The craziest part about this one to me, Matt, is the fact that these guys have 19 combined UFC fights. Only one bonus between the two of them. That one to Khalil Rountree when he's able to finish Gokhan Saki in the first round of their fight. He also picked up a nice win over Modestas Bukauskas his last time out where those oblique kicks, they work.
It was I hate to say it like this, but it was kind of awesome what he did. Like, you don't see that technique often, and it is terrible because it basically always results in, like, a life and career-altering injury. But if a guy is standing at you with a karate stance, and if he is on that front leg with all of his weight on it, and if you're pretty good at throwing oblique kicks, you might as well stomp on it, and that's what Rountree did. Now, hopefully Bukauskas can heal up and get back to, as close to 100% as possible, but it did show ever-evolving fight IQ from Rountree, because that is the big knock against him. Like, go back to the Prachnio fight. Hurts him every time he hits him, and then just doesn't throw any volume, and just sort of lets Prachnio get back into that fight. That's what's going to be so interesting about this fight, because for me, Rountree really relies on his opponent making mistakes and then him capitalizing on them. Whereas Robertson can just go in there, strike and flow with his strikes in the middle of the cage, because if you're not a takedown threat on Karl Robertson, he doesn't really have to worry about, should I be hesitant on the feet? He can really let his kicks go. He can really let his hands go. I do worry about him and his size at light heavyweight because he has had quite a few problems making weight at 185 pounds. And I understand that the UFC at a certain point said, hey, just move up and weight. And it is bad, kind of, how there's no in-between between middleweight and light heavyweight. It's just a 20-pound gap. But Robertson is too big for middleweight, probably too small for light heavyweight, but against someone like Khalil Rountree Jr., who is not going to go in there to grapple at all, I don't think we are going to see those weaknesses show their head in this fight. But let's say Robertson does win this one, and then he is matched up against even like a Tyson Pedro. I don't even know why he came to mind, but someone who will grapple quite a bit with their wrestling and is really wrestling heavy, even though he's not much of a threat on the feet. The wrestling and the overall grappling defense of Robertson is such a big Achilles heel that I'm always going to worry about it for as long as he's in the UFC, even though, like you said, he does have good submission wins.
And the craziest part about it, in Karl Roberson's corner, the fight that he had against Marvin Vettori, like, the way he was able to buck out, like, really early on, like, it was a lot of fun. But he ended up getting caught and he ended up getting finished. And for Karl Roberson, getting ready for his last fight that he was supposed to have against Nick Maximov, I went back and did a little bit of research on that one. He was actually training at a Glory MMA and Fitness for that fight. He's been a Killer B combat sports guy out in the New Jersey, New York area, and he's training at Cantone's MMA with Corey Anderson. Again, same team. He's been around those guys for a really long time to get ready for this fight. Whereas Khalil Rountree has gone from Kings to Tiger Muay Thai to, for his last fight, Syndicate. He's also at Syndicate again for this one. So you're going to get some rounds in there with, who the hell knows if Sean Strickland's still there. But there are a lot of bigger fighters at Syndicate to get some time in the cage with. So for Rountree, coming in off that win, before that, the loss to Prachnio, where, he hurt poor old Marcin Prachnio.
Who hasn't, though?
But then he just stood there and bobbed. And
please don't do that motion ever again.
Didn't really do a whole lot. Lose D1 Kutsalaba where he gets taken down over and over again. It just really has been a mixed bag for both of these guys. Karl Roberson submitting Roman Kopylov, the old boxer. I never thought that would happen, but it did. But even that, I mean, Karl Roberson's last win 2 years and 2 months ago. Like, it's crazy. It really is.
And I still favor him in this matchup because with Robertson, the wrestling and the grappling gets him into trouble. But if you do just allow him to strike for striking's sake, he's very, very good at it. With Rountree, even if you let him have range and let him have his own timing and his rhythm, he just doesn't have output a lot of the time. So unless he is able to hurt Robertson with a big shot early on, I just think Robertson's going to be able to stand in the middle of the cage and really pick Rountree apart from range.
So when we look at this one in terms of the odds for this fight, for Khalil Rountree, a slight favorite of -125 or thereabouts. For Karl Roberson, +105. If we look at the Tapology votes, surprise to us as they are to you, 613 total votes, 78% for Rountree, 73% by knockout. For the 22% that have Karl Roberson, 47% by decision, 16% by submission, 33% by knockout. For Baby K, the weird thing is, I would expect him in this fight to maybe try and implement some grappling. Khalil Rountree, not necessarily known for his takedown defense either, so that really is a big key.
He's a lot stronger, though, and that's why I don't think he will.
That is it, and he's one of those, you can see it in the picture, he's an upper body strength type of guy.
Huge.
So if Robertson's able to get the takedown, that would be a method of victory. With Rountree, other than the Prachniow fight, you like it when he's actually able to start to throw in combination, when he's listening to the coaches, and when he flows, because when he doesn't, it can get ugly like that one fight. But again, I look at this one, I ever so slightly edge the favorite in Khalil Rountree in this one, because for Karl Roberson, I just haven't seen it in so long. And that's the thing, yes, he can flow when he strikes, but he doesn't normally do that. He usually reverts to the grappling, so it is tricky.
Well, he does after he gets his opponent hurt a lot of the times, and that's why I do think he's going to be able to just stay at range and kick a lot with Rountree. I don't think either guy's going to throw a lot of output. I do think this is going to be very much a mirror match, but that's why I do like Robertson's ability to just find the holes through the defense of Rountree a little bit more effectively.
Matt going with the underdog, and Karl Roberson in this fight, looking for his first win in a couple of years. I'm going with Khalil Rountree out of Syndicate to get the win. You let us know down below in the comments section what you make of the light heavyweight division and who you have winning this fight. We got a couple of big time fights left on this card. Your co-main event, Song Yadong taking on Marlon Moraes, the former title challenger, and with another former title challenger in the main event, Thiago Santos taking on Magomed Ankalaev. You're not going to want to miss it. Keep locked in with Fight Night Picks. As we always say,
let's get into it.